The sole purpose of this video is to provide a basic overview and orientation of your new apparatus. This video is not intended to act as or replace individualized driver-operator training. Individual fire departments may base guidelines, policies, and procedures tailored for best practices. Pierce Manufacturing and Hughes Fire Equipment representatives are not liable for injuries caused from acts resulting from actions inconsistent with the information provided within this video and/or accompanying manuals. Refer to the Operation and Maintenance Manual for complete details relating to the components and features of this apparatus. Only trained personnel should operate this vehicle or perform maintenance. You are responsible for learning how to operate this fire apparatus under all conditions without having to refer to the manual while operating at an emergency incident. This video will discuss types of warnings and caution labels. It is your responsibility to locate and identify each of the labels and understand the importance and associated hazards. Warning labels will point out procedure that must be taken or action that must be avoided to guard against the possibility of serious injury or death. Caution labels will advise you that there is a risk of damage to property if certain precautions are not followed. Continuous training, reviewing of operation and service manuals, developing good standardized practices will assist driver operators with a more complete understanding of the components and operation of this fire apparatus. As the driver operator of this vehicle, you are responsible for understanding the function of each component of the apparatus, maintaining control of the fire apparatus at all times while in operation. Make operational and functional changes while operating at an emergency without having to read operator's instructions or safety warning labels. Operate manual override and emergency shutdown procedures immediately if a component fails to operate properly. Components location may vary with each Pierce fire apparatus. Review the exact location of each component prior to operation. Major inconsistencies between your vehicle and the information contained in this video should be directed to your sales representative. Safe operation of any vehicle is the responsibility of the driver operator. You must learn the location and function of all controls, switches, gauges, valves, inlets, and discharges. Due to a higher center of gravity, heavy trucks have a significantly higher rollover tendency than other types of vehicles. To reduce the risk of rollover, avoid making sharp turns, excessive speed, and avoid abrupt maneuvers. In the event of a rollover crash, an unbelted person is significantly more likely to become injured or die than a person wearing a seatbelt. In the event of a crash, unbuckled occupants can also become a hazard to other occupants, as they may be thrown around inside the cab. Seatbelts are required while in operation. Please refer to your warranty certificates for details and information enclosed in your manuals. Customer-installed equipment must be mounted to withstand road travel and comply with NFPA 1901. Modifications such as drilling holes or welding to structural frame components of the chassis are not permitted. Contact Pierce for instruction and review of non-structural sheet metal or other dissimilar metals for modification. Follow the radio installation guide for further assistance on installing or mounting electronics. Before placing your new apparatus into service, perform a primary inspection of key components of the apparatus, including all fluid levels, anti-lock braking systems, electronic stability control, and automatic traction control. Weigh your apparatus to ensure that it conforms to axle and brake ratings. Never exceed the gross axle rating printed on the label inside the cab. Exceeding these ratings could lead to reduced component life, personal injury, or death. Review the use of auxiliary braking systems, compression brake, exhaust brake, electronic retarder, and hydraulic retarder. Before placing the apparatus in service, refer to the operational maintenance manuals. Information on the operation and maintenance functions for the components such as the pump, pressure governor, and foam systems, along with other options, is provided in either the Pierce manuals and/or other manufacturer support information delivered with the apparatus. If you need more information, please contact Hughes Fire Equipment. Congratulations, Valley Regional Fire Authority, Washington, on your new fire apparatus, job number 32379. Please utilize this job number when referencing your apparatus with Hughes Fire Equipment and Pierce Manufacturing. Let's get started on a brief orientation of your new apparatus. Let's start down at the front bumper. On the face passenger side, you'll find dual air horns. Moving to the center, you'll find your electronic siren and PA speaker. Moving to the driver's side face of the bumper, you'll find your mechanical siren. Moving up onto the bumper extension, you'll find a tubbed storage location for your front bumper hose. Also located just to the right of that in the image, you'll find a 1.5-inch discharge, which is a swivel. On the bumper extension side, you'll find 2 warning lights on each side. Moving up onto the face of the apparatus, you'll find your turn indicators just below the headlight structure. And as we move up from that location to the headlight structure, you'll find the high and low beams for your headlights. The high beam is on the inside, and on the outer edge is your low beam. Up from that location, you'll find your 2 emergency warning lights on both sides. And then you'll also find a front marker light. Just up from that front marker light on the driver's side is where you'll also find a side-facing camera. Moving up onto the windshield area, you'll find 3 windshield wipers across the one-piece seamless windshield. Moving all the way to the brow of the apparatus, which is just above the windshield, you'll find your running lights. Located in the very center, you'll find a forward-facing floodlight. Located up onto the top of the apparatus, you'll find your emergency warning light bar. Located inside that warning light bar, you'll also find your traffic advisor or Opticom system. As we move to the outer edges, your vehicle is equipped with a flat mirror and also a convex mirror. Let's take a close-up look at some of those items that we just talked about. This is the front bumper discharge. This is foam and water capable. This is the tubbed storage location. There are Velcro straps for securing the hose. As we move to the side front doors, you'll find your department logo. You'll also find a keyless entry system. As we move to the side of the apparatus, both on the passenger and driver side, you'll find access to the rear compartments. This is your Shoreline inlet. It is a 15-amp auto eject plug. Moving down to the lower corner, both on the passenger and driver side, you'll find additional storage locations. As we move to the pump panel area, let's start at the very upper left-hand corner where you'll find your crosslays. You'll also find the release mechanism, which is the orange seatbelt style release mechanism. At the very top, you'll find your booster line tending. As we move further down, you'll find a grab handle. And then as we move further down into the next section, you'll find backboard storage location. And then just to the right, you'll find these 2 gauges. One, your pump intake. This is for your master pump intake. You'll also find 2 ports for vacuum and pressure. These are the test ports for when you're testing your pump. To the right, you'll find your pump discharge. This is the master discharge. All the way to the very far right, you'll find a water level indicator. And then as we move further down, you'll find this light, which will engage when your pump is properly engaged. It will activate. You'll also find an audible alarm. You can increase or decrease the volume level by twisting the outer bezel. You'll also find a low water level indicator, which is on the very far right, which is amber in color. Because there's hose lines that come off the side, we do provide this warning label here regarding entanglement. You'll also find a EXM. This is your L-card brass. This is for controlling of your MasterStream device. As we move through some of the items here, this is your foam module indicator for the level of foam in your tank. And to the right, you'll find your Foam Pro. This is the blue module, which is for controlling that foam. To the far right, you'll find your InControl 400. This is an FRC
module. To the right, you'll find your panel lights, a pump engaged indicator. Just beneath that, you'll find the driver's side scene lights, passenger side scene lights, and rear scene lights. When those switches are activated, you will find that the green light will illuminate. Let's move further down on the pump panel. As we move to the section just underneath the gray area here, you'll find this red air horn. And then let's move all the way to the left. This is an additional audible alarm. Once again, turning the bezel will increase or decrease the volume level. Down on the very far right, just beneath the tank to pump, you'll find an open and closed indicator for your tank to pump. You'll also find the number 1 crosslay. It's yellow in color, also clearly labeled, and it is also foam capable. To the right, you'll find 2 controls, one recirculating line and your engine cooler. These are both twist, not pulls. As we move further to the right, you'll find your extender. This is for your large diameter discharge in the middle section of your apparatus on the roof area in the dunnage. And you'll also find your deluge discharge. Moving to the right, you'll find your rear large diameter discharge. And then as we move further to the right, you'll find your reel rewind. This is the switch for the activation of the electric motor. And beneath that, you'll find your water level alarm shutoff. Moving further to the right, you'll find your reel discharge. This is the relief valve for, this is the valve for opening and closing the discharge. And then just underneath that is where you'll find your tank fill. Moving further to the right, you'll find your tank to pump. And as we move down to the next set of valves, you'll find them color-coded and also labeled. To the right, you'll find your warm water rinse. Just beneath that, you'll find the outlet for that warm water rinse. And you also have a warm water pump, which is an activation, and also a low-level alarm. To the right, you're also going to find your foam instructions for your Foam Pro system. And further to the right, you'll find your primer for your fire pump. There are instructions just beneath that for priming instructions. And then you'll also find some warning labels here regarding not riding on the side of your apparatus. Down in the lower left, you'll find your large diameter passenger side discharge in green. And to the right, you'll find this placard regarding your minimum maintenance schedule. We'll talk about that in a few moments. And this here covered in duct tape to prevent any objects inside. This is your large diameter discharge. Down at the very bottom, you'll find your Foam Pro Power Fill. Moving to the right, you'll find your minimum maintenance schedule for 150, 200, and 250 psi test pressures. And then you'll also find, once again, that warning label regarding pressurized caps and the associated hazards while removing those caps. Difficult to see in this image here. There is an instruction warning label here regarding that only trained personnel should use this piece of equipment, and you should use the instructions manual for guidance. Just a close-up here, this is your water pump. This is for your clean water for rinsing. You have a warm water level or low level. You also have a 12-volt alarm and also a 12-volt heater. Down the right, you'll find your Watrous pump. This is the placard for information on the type of pump that you have and also its capacity at 1500 GPM. Let's go ahead and move down to the right side of the panel. You'll find your driver's side auxiliary inlet. This is a 2.5-inch auxiliary inlet. Let's move back down to the left-hand side. You'll find this warning label regarding foam failure and not to mix brands or types of foams. We talked a little bit about this. This is your foam fill. You can see the instructions on the left here and also for auto or manual. Down the lower section, Foam Pro offers a fill, manual, and flush and foam inlet down in the lower section here that's currently capped. As we move to the right, you'll find your rinse tank, full light, green indicating the tank is full. That's in the dunnage area. And then just beneath that, you'll find the discharge port. You also have in black, these are the manifold drains and also auxiliary drains for your auxiliary side inlet. In the upper corner, once again, that pressurized warning hazard. This is your Pierce maintenance schedule for 150, 200, and 250 psi. This is the test gauge for when your pump has been tested for the RPMs and also for the GPM on the left-hand side. Please see the owner's manual for how to operate this and get these pump settings. As we move to the dunnage area, you'll find your booster line. There is a mechanism at the very top of the booster line for manual rewind. And then there's also a tensioning for either increasing or decreasing the tension on that booster line. In the center, you'll find your large diameter discharge. This is your deluge. It is automatic and controlled from the pump panel. You'll also find the location for your water fill here. This is that clean water we talked about for your rinse. And then to the right in the dunnage area, you'll also find your foam fill tank for tank A. Let's move now down to the driver's side compartments. First in this compartment, LS3, you'll find the release mechanism for opening that shelf outward. In the upper portion, you'll find your auto charging system. In the lower portion down here, you'll find the timer settings for your compartment ventilation. You can see when plugged into shore power, this will activate your auto charger. As we look just inside, you can see the timer here. All you have to do is set those individual times for running while plugged into shore power. In front and in rear of the rear wheel, you'll find your folding wheel chocks. As we move to the center in those wheels, you'll also find your airfill location and indication. Moving upward, you'll find bottle storage locations. They do have tending straps. As we move further to the rear section of this is where you'll also find bottle storage and also your diesel fill, which is the silver cap. As we move the lever down, you'll also find your blue, which is your DEF 4.5 US gallon tank. Let's move now to LS2. This is going to be directly over the rear tire. You'll find SCBA storage location. As we move to LS1, this is the left rear compartment. This has a toolboard storage. Let's go ahead and move all the way around to the very rear section of your apparatus. We'll start first with the cluster. At the very top, you're going to find emergency warning lights, brake lights, turn indicators, and then also your reverse lights. Just up from that, you'll find two switches which are contained inside the cup. We'll talk about those in a minute. And you'll also find a directional and also elevated floodlight. These are your rear scene lights and also your hose bed lights. These are the switch for those. As we move to the very rear in the center, you'll find a warning label here regarding not riding on the apparatus, that there is a fall hazard. To the right, because of those hoses coming off the back, there is the possibility for entanglement, so be cautious there. And then also to the right, you'll find a warning label here regarding pressurized caps and those associated hazards while removing caps under pressure. Directly in the center, you'll find your backup camera. As we move to the outer edge, you'll find your driver's rear discharge. This is a 2.5-inch rear discharge. To the very far right, you'll find your large diameter rear discharge. And just above the tailboard, you'll find a rear compartment here with a roll-up door, adjustable shelving inside, and also a ventilation system. In the top upper left corner, you'll also find a shoreline outlet. As we move to the very top of the apparatus in the hose bed, first you'll find a work light, and then down in the lower left-hand side, these are all your adjustable hose dividers. As we look to the left and right side of your apparatus, you will find additional storage locations that are covered and do have LED lighting inside. Let's go ahead and move around to the rear and also the passenger side of the vehicle. Just a quick view. Let's go ahead and move into the RS1 compartment. This is the adjustable shelves, LED lighting, and also that ventilation system. You can also see that you have some sort of flat storage location here. As we move to the side compartment, you'll find this location for your hydraulic rack equipment reservoir. The instructions are on the left-hand side for the type of fluid that's used inside this. As we move to the front section of the wheel, you'll find additional bottle storage, once again with retaining straps. And as we move into the RS2 compartment, this is directly over the rear wheel, you'll find two locations for SCBA storage. Now we're to the RS3 compartment. We do have, once again, adjustable shelving, but you'll also notice in the upper right-hand corner an outlet for shore power outlet. Let's go through some of the items here. We're midship. First, let's talk about the warning label here regarding those entanglement hazards for those hose coming off the side. Also a warning label here regarding pressurized caps once again. And then to the very far right, a warning label here regarding fall, and you should not ride on the side of the apparatus. Now that we have those out of the way, let's talk a little bit about some of the other items. First, your powered equipment rack. There is instructions on this and also some danger information. There's a master on and off switch and an up or down for the lift. Just beneath that, you'll find the module for your cab lift. There's instructions on here. There are also some warning and also some danger labels. Moving to the right, you'll find your 2.5-inch crosslay, and you'll also find the number 2 crosslay, which is 1.5 inches. Down in the lower left-hand corner, we'll talk about this access panel. Located in the center, you're going to find your large diameter pump intake, and to the far right, the green section here, large diameter discharge. Moving further to the right, you're going to find your number 2 driver's side discharge. This is a 2.5 inch. And then you'll also find an additional access point. We'll cover those with some close-up images. Let's take a look at some of those images first. Let's start with the powered equipment rack here. You can see at the very top there is a danger indicator here, and stay clear of that rack while it's in motion. Down in the lower, underneath this section is your cab lift. There's also some to raise instructions and lower instructions, and to the right 2.5 inch and also 1.5 inch discharge ports. In the first compartment behind the cab access panel, you'll find your foam drain. This is behind the panel. And then as we look just to the very bottom, you'll find your 2.5 inch and number 2 crosslay drain. Moving just forward of that location, you'll find an additional access door. Let's move lower down to the next section here, where you'll find your large diameter discharge and also large diameter passenger side drains. Just inside this access panel, you'll find foam drain instructions and also valves. In the next compartment over for the access point, you'll find your relief valve, and you can see at the very image here was the set screw for adjusting that relief valve. As we move to the cab now, once again, we've seen this on the other side, a compartment storage. As we move just inside the cab, we'll talk a little bit about some of the items here, but I would like to point out there is a compartment light on both the right and left-hand side as you gain access into the cab. Just a general view of the two rear seats. They are forward-facing, mounted inside of each other with shelves on the outer edges. You do have push-on and off red and white lights, in addition with longer dome lights located in the very back. There are two 12-volt access points here. This is barrel style on both the passenger and driver's side. And in the center, you'll find access point for your daily checks for your oil and transmission. Let's move outside of the cab. You'll find this is just behind the rear seat of the passenger and driver. This is exterior access into those compartments. And as we move to the very front compartment, at all points of entry, you'll find these warning labels. It's a combination of warning labels to heed the advice. Located in the right hinge area is where you'll find the refill location for your windshield wiper. Underneath the seat, you do have some termination points here for 12-volt access. Located on the dash area to the left, you'll find your electronic siren, mechanical siren, and also your siren brake and push to talk. You'll also find 12-volt USB and also barrel style. Overhead of the officer seat, you're going to find your driver's side scene, front flood, passenger side scene, two future switch locations, and your red siren brake. You'll also find your unit radio, which is your Motorola. This is once again overhead of the operator. And then you're also going to find just beneath that your intercom for your communication. Let's go ahead and take a general look here in the very center of your apparatus. I would like to point out this is a indicator that you have a compartment door open if this is flashing. You also have seatbelt indicators, red indicating someone's in the seat and not belted, green indicating they're in the seat and belted. Let's go ahead and move across some of the other items here. Once again, push on and off red and white lights located in the very center overhead. As we look just behind the seat, you'll also find your air compressor system. When plugged into shore power, this will activate maintaining your air brakes. We're now to the driver's side. A couple of warning labels here regarding the use of seat belts. And as we move through some of the items within the dash, let's talk a little bit about them. First, this is the warning label here regarding the use of seat belts, fall protection, and also hearing protection. You do have your controls here for all of your electronic windows. As we move down to the base of your seat, you'll find your auto charge. When plugged into shore power, this will activate, maintaining your battery. On the left-hand side of the operator foot level, you'll find your mechanical siren foot pedal. At about knee height, you'll find your master battery switch in silver. To the right, you'll find your engine, transmission, ABS, diagnostic port in green. And then you'll find your ABS diagnostics, DPF regen, engine diagnostics, and regen inhibit switch. Let's move to the very far right-hand side. It's about the right ankle of the operator. You'll find this yellow placard manufactured by Pierce. Has the job number, date of manufacture. It also has your gross vehicle weight ratings, tire pressures. It also has the VIN. It also has fluid capacities for the components, types, and the type of fluid that you would use. Very valuable. On the left-hand side of the steering column, you'll find your push to hold, your emergency relays for your brakes. And then you'll also find on the right-hand side your pump, road to pump, and pump to road. This is your pump transmission shift. You need two green indicators on prior to leaving the cab to engage the pump properly. Let's move to the right-hand side. This is just to the right of the column. You're going to find your main mirror and convex mirror controls. As we move to the dash upper left-hand corner, this is your start and your ignition switch. Just to the right of that location, you're going to find this small switch, which stands for EM, Emergency Master. That turns on all of your emergency lights, headlights, and also panel lights. You'll also find controls for the steering column here. In the dash area, you're going to find on the left your transmission DEF level, oil pressure, and also water temperature. The two center gauges will be your RPMs and tachometer, and also your speedometer. To the right, you'll find your volts, fuel, front and rear air, and then you'll also find diagnostic information above and below the speedometer. On the right-hand side, you're going to find your backup camera or also your turn camera. You'll also find a set of switches just underneath that, and as we move to the right, you'll also find some function switches here. We'll go over those next. First, let's start with that set of switches, starting with the engine brake on and off on your left. You have an engine brake high, medium, and low. You have a red siren brake, mirror heat, your load manager, and your dome lights. Only two of these switches actually have LED lights in them, the mirror heat and the load manager once they're engaged. On the right-hand side, you'll find your PTT, which stands for push to talk, and then you'll also find your windshield wiper control, push for fluid. This is your system parking brake. These are your main brakes, pull to apply, push to release, and to the right, you'll find your Allison transmission pad with a note indicating to pump and drive. You do have climate control, air conditioning, heat, and also defrost. In the upper left-hand corner, or I should say over the operator's head, you'll find this placard for your height, 10 feet 7 inches, length 32 feet 4.5 inches, gross vehicle weight rating at 43,500 pounds. This also has your job number referenced. Overhead of the operator, you're going to find the emergency master, a future switch location, your Opticom control, which is located in the center of your light bar, your white light cancel, which will cancel all of your white lights forward facing. You have your air horn, electric, or siren. Moving to the right from this location, an additional set of switches which house your driver's side scene, front flood, passenger side scene, rear scene, the perimeter lights, and also a momentary for your Opticom. Let's go ahead and move further to the right of this, where you'll find your controls for your siren and also PA system. And then as we look to the rear, just an additional image here from the front looking to the rear, the two seats, and overhead your intercom system. Additional picture here from the side. Congratulations, Valley Regional Fire Authority, Washington, on your new fire apparatus, job number 32379. If you have any questions of the content of this video, please contact your Hughes Fire sales representative. Congratulations. Thank you.